Right, and something a little bit different, gang. What we're going to go over is how I coach in everything that I do within the high performance space. Is I talk about health first, and we call it a human first approach. What we're trying to do is optimize everything to be able to then perform at our best. Now, the analogy is, if I was to try and shoot a bow and arrow, if I just pulled it a little bit, how far the arrow go? What we're doing is we call it preloaded. We're getting the arrow as tight as possibly can to then hit our target. Okay. So some things that we talk around in relation to this, we just talked about the gym session about movement. Now, movement is our training. This equals volume. This we call it medium intensity. And then what we look at from a conditioning standpoint is we're looking really, which is aerobic base, using oxygen. Reason why is what we're trying to do from a cellular standpoint is increase, the posh term is mitochondrial function, but realistically we're trying to get you healthy. If you've got a healthy cell, it has the ability to absorb and adapt. Brian Walsh had a term called you're not what you eat, you are what you eat and you absorb, especially if you've got issues. You want oxygen. If you're oxidated or oxidative, it means that you're usually disease free too. So that's what we're trying to do here, is that bow and arrow effect. Now, what I want you to take from this is something that you can do for your health and performance, is understand these key metrics, because these are imperative. You should be sorting this out. If your first 2 or 3 phases of training, if this is not sorted, I guarantee you won't get the results that you want, or you'll get them and not keep them because you'll revert back. Okay. Number 1 is blood pressure. Your blood pressure is the biggest dictating factor of you can measure someone's lifespan through how bad their blood pressure is. Now, people say that it's okay to have blood pressure at 130 over 85. It's not. Gold standard blood pressure is 115 over 75. Okay, that is what you want to get to. If you've got high blood pressure, now a lot of people that come to me have got blood pressure at 140 over 90 or 130 over 80. The main way of getting this down is through aerobic exercise, hence why the optimization phase. Okay, if you have got that, you should be taking that. Now, what I use, I've got a posh one, I've got an Omron Bluetooth one. First thing in the morning, on my left arm, I sit down, put my arm on the counter, I take a few deep breaths, I take 2 readings. Your first reading is usually shit because you get a thing called white collar syndrome, where your body sees it as a threat and you get a bit anxious. Your blood pressure will go up. Take 2 or 3 readings, take the average, okay? The next one that you may have is heart rate variability. This is, if you looked at your heart rate, it would, okay, your heart rate would look a bit like that. HRV is the gaps between beats of your heart. The longer those gaps, the better HRV, the less stressed. The shorter those gaps, the worse you are, because you've got elevated heart rate. If you're wearing a Whoop, you get a heart rate score. If guys are wearing a Garmin, you get a stress score, same thing. Again, you can use that. Do I use that for my training? Not if you going into competition, I guarantee your HRV is tanking because your body's getting ready to fight, basically. So do I use it? Ish, not all the time. Next one, if you are using it, again, if you're using Whoop especially, you've got a strain score. It'll tell you when your optimal time is to load. You have the same as a stress score on a Garmin. Fasted blood glucose. Fasted blood glucose. This is a very more invasive way of measuring. What you're looking at here is whether you've got actually how much sugar is in your blood when you're fasted. You can do it postprandial, which means after you eat. Don't go too deep with this. If you want to go deep with it, you can. I think it's 3.9 off the top of my head, or 3.4 millimoles per milliliter of blood, or up to 5. Is it anything above that, we have a problem. Okay, guys who are diabetics, obviously you do that a lot. But do you need to do that? No. Now, the last one that I use is resting heart rate. Now, this is the biggest dictating factor of fitness. It's also a massive dictator of stress. If your resting heart rate seems to be increasing, you're losing sleep, you're digesting food, and you're going to the bathroom and it's like a fucking Armageddon, it's because you're too stressed. If your resting heart rate is 60 plus, that is what you need to work on. Doesn't matter whether you're a male or a female, but what you will also find is usually it can go hand in hand with blood pressure. Okay, if you've got a poor resting heart rate and a terrible blood pressure, we've got problems with that cardiac system. Now, This is something that we use, and this is coined from a guy called Sam Miller. Shout out to him. If you guys should take his course is fucking is amazing. I learned this acronym, which is SHREDS. So you got stress, hunger, recovery, energy, digestion, and sleep. What I'm actually lying to you is sleep should be at the top. It's the same thing. Okay. Whenever I work with a client and I'm on their sort of human first or the optimization phase, this is what I run them through. Reason being, sleep and digestion have the biggest dictating factor of inflammation in the body. If you have got sleep issues and digestion issues, I guarantee that you've got high inflammation. If you've got high inflammation, there's lots of different reasons, but that's something we need to sort out first. That'll obviously have massive repercussions of your energy, that'll have massive repercussions of your recovery, and also your ability to actually feel satiated or be hungry, which can actually add to your stress. These are all the biometrics that I use. There are a couple of others that I use. We talk about digestion quality too, whenever we're in that human first phase. Now, why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because what usually you'll do when you get a training program is some fucking coach will tell you, okay, cool man, you need to be on a hypertrophy phase and you need to be doing this. How many of you are watching this and been frustrated that you haven't kept your results? What the ambition for me, for this video to do, is to educate you on other shit that matters. The other stuff that's actually going to put a dent in your progress and actually help you see progress continually. And more to the point, if you have been struggling, when you get injured, you've got terrible energy, your training's been shocking, you haven't got motivation, you actually aren't a very resilient person at the moment. It all stems from us building this bow and arrow, which most of you aren't doing. If you have any questions about that kind of stuff, this can get super deep. Obviously, without knowing you, I can't be giving you like blanket terms and statements, but I'm more than happy to point you in the right direction where the right research is and who to listen to. Or if I can help with simple things on stuff like how to improve your sleep or improve any of these, I'll be more than happy to. So let me know. So last thing, gang, something especially if you're into high performance, you want to start achieving more, one piece of advice that I have is have dead space or white space in your diary. What that actually is a time where you do an analog task, you do something, you don't have your phone, you don't have any sort of distraction. What you do is you do something simple. For me, just taking this idiot out for a walk, no earphones in, just me, myself, him, concentrate on him or let my mind wander. It's the only place to gain feedback, reflect, and actually be objective about your current situation rather than continually being in the proverbial firefight of work or business or whatever it is. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, much appreciated. Any questions, do please let me know. I appreciate the new subscribers and I'll catch up with you guys soon.